Hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment of the Masterpiece Lounge. I am your hostess, certified life coach, author, and speaker, Chrisnatha. So, if it's your first time, welcome to our corner of the internet where we have compelling conversations that really help propel and push our personal and professional lives forward. And if you are someone who regularly hangs out with us in the Masterpiece Lounge, welcome back. And so we're going to jump right into today's segment. And today we're going to be talking about building rapport. And I wanted to discuss this topic because I believe as we are all building our businesses and um, making new connections, it is important that we build rapport, we build relationships. And so I want to share a few tips with each and every one of you to help you on how you can begin doing that today, or if you're already doing so, how you may be able to improve building rapport with your prospective clients and or customers, right? So we want to build relationships with the people who buy from us, the people who have a buy-in and to our business, okay? Whether that's a product and or service. And so the first thing is to make sure that you're doing research and that you are prepared. So for instance, if you work in sales and you have to make cold calls, right? Or you're sending cold emails, or maybe you are going to be pitching your business, your product, your service to a company or a potential client or customer, you want to make sure that you are prepared. It is imperative that you are prepared for the person you're going to be speaking to. So you need to make sure you're researching the company, that you know the individuals that you need to be speaking to, who they are, what are their names, what do they do, right? And that you really have some information, some valuable details about the pitch that you're going to be making, as well as the company and the person that you're speaking to. Okay, that's important. So the worst thing is to not be prepared. Okay, number two is to make sure that you are practicing active listening. We talked about this in last segment, and we're going to bring this up again because it's so important. Active listening is so key. It helps you understand the needs, the concern, and the goals of your prospective client or customer. And in doing so, I want you to also keep in mind that it might be a good idea to have some open-ended questions so that you can ask as well, so you can further understand the needs of your potential client. The third step is to display and show empathy and understanding. When you are having a conversation with a potential client or customer, you are coming in as the expert. Your job is to solve a problem. And so therefore, you're going to hear some of the pain points in the conversation, right? And so you want to make sure that you're showing empathy, that you're showing understanding, that you're listening, you're really listening, because this helps you understand what challenges that they have. And also, it's important that you acknowledge any concerns that they share as well. The fourth step is to find a common ground, right? And so you can look for common interests that your prospective client or customer has, that you also share. That is a good place to start. And this helps build connections, right? Because we're talking about building a relationship, meaning that you guys are going to have more than one conversation, right? There's going to be communication and correspondence taking place between you. And so you want to make sure that you are building this connection during your call, email, what so have you, or even in person. Number five is authenticity. It's important that you are genuine. Okay. When you're not genuine, I believe that people can feel that, they can see that, they can hear that, right, over the phone. And so you want to make sure that you are being genuine in your interactions with your prospect. And so, for instance, I want you to avoid appearing heavily scripted or rehearsed. Now, I know when you are having conversations with a prospect, there can be a framework, a guide, right? A script, so to speak, to help guide the conversation. But you don't want to sound like a robot. You don't want to sound like you're reading something off a screen. You want to make sure that it's conversational. And so be genuine and be authentic. So add your personality, right, to it, and listen to what your prospect is saying as well. Number 6 is positive body language. If you are building rapport and having a conversation with a prospect in person, you want to be mindful of your body language, right? Do you have your arms crossed? Are you giving eye contact, right? Are you nodding in agreement? Are you maintaining positive body language? What is your tone, right? When you're speaking, do you sound frustrated? Do you sound upset? Do you sound like you need to rush the conversation? And so I want you to think about that too. Your pace of speech matters. Even if your prospect is speaking a bit fast, because maybe they want the interaction to not be as long, you are in control of you. So you don't have to rush the conversation, so to speak. You want to make sure you're asking great questions and that you are, just making sure that you're showing knowledge about what's taking place in the conversation. You're paying attention, you're being genuine, like we just shared, but that you are having a pretty steady pace of speech. That's really key. Number 7 is providing value. This is so important. It's important that you offer insight, ask great questions, guys. A lot of times we may say, or feel, or I'm sure we've heard it, it's important to get good answers, right? I agree with that a bit, but it's even more important to ask really good questions, right? And so ask good questions. I would actually encourage you to have a couple questions in mind ahead of the conversation. You may not use them, you may not use all of them, but it's good to always be ready and to have a few great questions ready. And so when you're having a conversation, that correspondence, you'll be able to respond accordingly. Also, in providing value, this helps demonstrate your expertise. So it's important that you are providing value. You're allowing your prospect to see and to hear that you know what you're talking about, you know your stuff, and that you're a good fit to provide a solution to their pain point. Number 8 is following up. This seems so simple, but you would be surprised how many people drop the ball here. And so following up is important. So be intentional about follow up, whether it's phone, email, however you're going to do that, or both. Just make sure that you are intentional. Use whatever systems you have in place to make sure that you are on point with when the follow up is, reminders, and that you are showing up with what you promised. Okay. Number 9 is personalized communication. This is important. You may have a system, right, that works for you. You have a certain cadence that you use when you're reaching out to prospects. All of that is good. But if your prospect prefers emails, right, then you want to make sure that you're mindful of not making too many calls to that person because they've already shared a preference, right? And so you want to make sure that though you have your cadence and your way of doing things, you have your framework, you want to make sure that you're still mindful of how does my prospect want me to communicate with them, right? And so you want to make sure that you keep that in mind and that you make a note for that specific prospect so that you're communicating effectively for them. Number 10 is maintain long-term relationships. So even after the closing of a sale, even after a client has signed up, even after a customer has purchased this item, you want them to be a raving fan, but you also want them to come back, right? Be a repeat customer, right? Be a reoccurring customer or client. And so you want to make sure that you maintain that relationship, or maybe they'll refer you to someone also because they've had such a great experience with you. And so you want to make sure that even after the business, so to speak, is taken care of, just a regular check-in, right? Just saying, hey, how are you, right? Or maybe you remembered a birthday and you give them a shout out, or maybe you're just, hey, let's get on a virtual coffee chat really quick and just catching up. There's so many ways to just check in with someone and maintain that relationship. You want to make sure that this is a mutual relationship for the both of you. It's a two-way street, and that no one that interacts with you feels like you're only reaching out to them when you want their business, right? When you want something from them, but you're also adding value. So these are just 10 steps on how you can start building rapport, or even continue to build rapport, but maybe tweak a few things. Maybe there's a couple of things that you can, just start to implement starting today, because we want to make sure that we are doing a great job in our outreach, in our rapport building, and developing new relationships. So I hope that this segment was super helpful for you. As always, I absolutely love hanging out with you guys each and every week right here in the Masterpiece Lounge. And so if we're not connected already, let's go ahead and connect on all social media platforms at Chrisnatha. And I will see you back here very soon. And until then, be well. Take care.